My guest today is America's personal health improvement expert, David Meinz. He speaks internationally to audiences about living life to the fullest with maximum energy and health. Author of 10 Bonus Years, Wealthy, Healthy, and Wise, The Enemy Within, Healthy Sales, and others, he has a master's degree in human nutrition, is a registered dietitian, and a fellow in the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. He's also a certified speaking professional from the National Speakers Association, and he has a philosophy. He says, did you know you can add 10 extra healthy years to your life by taking just several simple steps? And you don't have to become a marathon runner or eat tofu and bean sprouts to do it? Well, he's going to show us how. So I'm going to start with this question, David. I'm intrigued by the title of your new book, which is 10 Bonus Years. Can people really add an extra healthy decade to their life?
Well, sure, Gail, thanks. And, the average life expectancy today is a little over 78 years. Women about 81, men about 76, but it averages about 78 years. And a lot of people already are adding this 10 extra years, and if you look at them and what they are doing, you see some patterns, and it's those patterns that people need to know about, these healthy habits that these successful people are doing, that we need to mimic ourselves to get that extra 10 bonus years. And remember, it's not just about adding more years to your life, it's adding more quality years to your life. And many of those folks are doing that as well. They're not only just getting older successfully, they're aging successfully with healthy years too. So it's being done already, and that's the point of the book, and kind of give a guideline on things that people can do to improve quality and quantity in their life.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do think that people are living longer than ever, and certainly people are becoming more health conscious. And I have to say that I credit some of the insurance companies with that because, of course, they've got the Silver Sneakers programs, the Silver Fitness program. They pay for the member to go to the gyms and so forth, and they have special classes for them. So there's a lot going on that really help people maintain a healthier existence. But you have 10 specific steps that you can take. So what are those 10 steps?
Well, we'll talk about some of them. For example, I think it's a surprise to a lot of people, but having a purpose in life, having a reason to get up in the morning when you don't have to go to work anymore, is very important. This is why retirement is a dangerous thing for a man, because if you think of it, men often get their identity from what they do for a living. Now, of course, women have careers today too, but if you ask a woman to describe herself, she will often talk about relationships. She's somebody's mom. She's somebody's sister, daughter, wife. A man, you ask him about himself, he'll tell you what he does for a living. And so when that goes away by circumstance or by choice and the guy retires, all of a sudden he doesn't know who he is or why he is. And we know that retirement is a dangerous time for men. Sickness goes up, mortality goes up. So the message of all this is to find something you're passionate about. What is it that gets you excited other than your career that you can still have enthusiasm about when the career is gone? Now, you may want to work part-time. You may want to volunteer at your church or synagogue. A lot of people think they're going to play golf, but what's interesting is, for a lot of people, when you can't play golf like you want to, it's very desirable. But when you got golf 24/7, it loses some of its appeal. So people need to ask themselves, what is it that gets me excited? What is it? Are there people out there that I admire? What is it that I admire about them? Is it what they do? Maybe you could do something similar to that. Hobbies would be a waste of time if it wasn't for the fact that they turn out to probably be good for your physical and mental health.
Well, I agree with you. That's one of the reasons why people always say to me, well, when are you going to retire, Gail? And of course, then they look at me and say, you're never going to retire, are you? And I say, well, why should I retire? And then they'll say, well, you can do everything you want to do. And I say, well, I do everything I want to do now. And I do think that it's important to have hobbies or have interests outside of your business or your home. And it's true. In fact, I can't tell you how many people in the last week have just said the worst thing that they ever did was retire. So I totally agree with you, David. I think it's very important to have a purpose when you get up in the morning, even if it's to get up and take a walk around the block and say hello to a few people on the route and that kind of thing. But you have to have that interaction and you have to have a purpose. What's another one you could tell us about?
So on the list, we also have making family and friends a high priority. Now, a lot of people have no problem with this, and I don't mean to pick on the men, but, in our society, we're told when we're little boys that we don't cry, and pick yourself up, and you can do it, and you don't need anybody else, and go make it on your own. Women, girls, tend to be more socially raised. They're part of the group a little bit more. They have girlfriends. We know not having a close personal friend or confidant, listen to this, not having a close personal friend or confidant in your life gives you the same long-term health risk as if you were a smoker. I find that to be an amazing fact.
I was just going to say the same thing. That's amazing.
We know what tobacco does to somebody's health and longevity prospects, but not having a close personal friend or confidant, and again, when I am in front of my audiences, I say, ladies, how many of you can name one close friend? And they'll have everybody's hand, 2, 3, 4. So women got a whole circle of friends. I said, could you get a group of girlfriends together? Yes, no problem. Gentlemen, how many of you have 5 close personal friends? No hands go up. 4, couple. 3, couple. 2, 1. So we just are raised that way in this society. It's not good for our health. And so I would just encourage men especially, but everybody, to value those folks that you see every day. They're good for you, whether you might not get along with them all the time. Of course, it's got to be a healthy relationship. We know marriages that are not good hurt your health, but marriages that are good really contribute to longevity. And we know that men that are married live longer than men that are single. Surprisingly, women's longevity is not affected so much once the husband dies. So basically, that means that women are good for men, but men are good for nothing. But nevertheless, we all are trying to accomplish the same kind of thing. In places in Asian world, it is considered dishonorable to send an older person to a nursing home. They just don't do that kind of thing. The older person stays part of the family, and they are an integral part of raising the grandchildren. And that's not unique to Asia too. That's often, you see that in the Hispanic kind of background folks too. You see multi-generational homes. But this traditional Anglo-Saxon that America has been made up of for so many generations, we're all busy, and so I guess I'll put Grandma in the nursing home because it's best that way. And I understand circumstances sometimes are such that you have no choice. But multi-generational families seem to be good for the older folks and for the younger folks too. So make friends and family a high priority, especially for men. I think we have to work on that a little bit more than we currently do.
Well, it's true. And even when men get together with men and women get together with women, the conversation is so totally different. The women get involved in all kinds of discussions about all kinds of things. And men, it's very specific. It might be about a sport. It might be about building something. It might be, but it's not as, shall we say, socially friendly as the women's conversation is. But let's move on to some of the things in terms of disease and so forth. You identify 2 of the biggest threats to America's health as heart disease and cancer. And some people think it's a result of getting older. So what are some of the things that you think you can do to decrease your risk of those 2 big killers?
Well, let's take care of cancer first, because I think much more people die from cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and stroke, same disease, different locations in the body. Many more people die from that. But I think people are more scared of cancer. So let's look at what we can do, and we can decrease our risk, the average person, by 2/3. And that's a surprising statistic. But when you realize that 1/3 of the cancers in this country come from the tobacco plant, and that 1/3 of it comes from diet and obesity, we've taken care of 2/3 of your risk right there. If you can approach a more normal weight. And if you'll eat more of a plant-based diet, less of a processed diet, if the food you're eating comes in a package, it's probably been processed. But if you had to spend some time making it from basic ingredients, it's probably closer to the way it grows. And research is showing that is a better, longer-term success route for you and your health to decrease your risk of cancer, heart disease, and other problems. So there's 2/3 of your cancer risk decrease. By the way, it's important to realize, too, that most cancers are not genetic in this country. They are lifestyle related. A lot of people say, well, it's just genetic, can't do anything about it. Well, your lifestyle, to a degree, will impact whether your genetics manifests itself. Remember, genetics is a tendency. It's not your destiny. That's a powerful statement right there. Genetics is your tendency. It's not your destiny. And it's been said before that genetics is the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So maybe breast cancer runs in your family. Maybe those kind of cancers run in your family. But what you do on a day-to-day basis will determine whether or not you live out that tendency or not. And what we're saying is, tobacco, that's simple. You either do it or you don't. There's 1/3 of your cancer risk right there gone if you don't do tobacco. And that other third is by how much body fat you keep on your body or don't, and the kind of quality of fuel you put in your body. So, Gail, there's 2/3 dramatic. If we could come up with a pill that decreased cancer risk by 2/3, you'd become a billionaire and win the, scientific awards around the world. And we already have that pill. It's just called personal responsibility. It's hard to get Americans to swallow that pill.
Well, but you also, you talk about there are so many diets out there. There's a low carb, there's a high carb, there's a low fat, there's high protein. So, one person can say, well, you should do this, and the next person say you should do that. So how do you know what's the best diet to follow?
You listen to me, Gail. That's what you do. It's very simple. I don't see a complication here at all. So let me tell you what we now know in terms of really the best kind of diet out there. And a lot of your listeners have heard of this before. It's called a Mediterranean diet. You need to eat more like an Italian and less like an American if you want to live a long, healthy life with maybe 10 extra healthy years at the end of that life. And what that means is this Mediterranean diet is not what they're eating. It doesn't mean to eat more pizzas and sprinkle olive oil on anything, but the research is showing that probably the healthiest diet for us out there is the diet that the people in the Mediterranean part of the world ate in the 1950s and 60s. A lot of research has been done about this, and basically we just go through a couple of things and look at it. And we start with eating more fruits and vegetables. Only about 25% of America gets their targeted fruits and vegetables a day. 25%. So 3/4 of Americans could do better than we're doing right now. More fruits and vegetables. I will tell you, you have to start at breakfast if you're going to accomplish this. You can't just say, at dinner time, I better have a salad. So one of my favorites of all time is blueberries. And I had some this morning for breakfast a couple hours ago. And you need to eat blueberries. They are the superstars of antioxidants. They are the Rust-Oleum for humans, and they slow down the aging process. All antioxidants do that, but blueberries are right up there at the top in terms of being good for you. So you got to start in the morning. You got to keep in mind that your goal is basically that you want about 2 cups of fruits a day and about 3 cups of vegetables a day. Now, you may have heard all kinds of recommendations for more fruits and vegetables. I even hear things like 9.5 servings a day. Who's going to do that? Well, the reason that's confusing is because a serving is often a half of a cup. And so they're adding all these servings up, and I think it just gets intimidating for people who are not used to eating much fruits and vegetables to begin with. So let's make it simple, and it's 2 cups of fruits a day, 3 cups of vegetables a day. Salads count. Iceberg lettuce does not count, just in case somebody listening doesn't know. Iceberg lettuce is a useless food. Sorry, I rarely say that, but doesn't have hardly anything going for it.
But David, I have to tell you, I heard the same thing, and I know it's true. And yet when you go to the fanciest restaurants, and this happened at a dinner I was at Thursday night, they made such a big deal about the lettuce wedge that we were getting, and it was iceberg lettuce.
Yeah, so